The United Nations has recently issued a stern warning to Mali's military leader, expressing their deep concern over the recent decree that suspends the activities of political parties and civic associations.
Yeah, so the United Nations are warning the transitional government led by Assimi Goïta to return back to democratic and civilian rule because for them, as we all know, democracy is all about looting the continent of Africa. They want Mali to return back to democracy because they know if Mali return back to democracy, they will have the opportunity to continue to loot the resources of Mali. What has democracy done to the continent of Africa? And they are citing human rights issues. And for that matter, Mali should return back to democracy. What is the problem of this United Nations? I think it's about time these Sahel countries to also withdraw from the United Nations, because the United Nations has not given us anything as Africans. But anyway, I want us to go and watch the full video. Come back and analyze it as we always do. You're welcome to One Africa Mission with your brother Dubia Anzanse. We are on a mission. We are missionaries, and our mission is all about the unity of the African continent and the dignity of the African race, because we believe without unity, we can never gain back our dignity as children of Africa. So please, let us join hands together and fight for our dignity as children of Africa. Where do we get our dignity? It's by uniting the continent of Africa. So I thank you very much for coming around. If you appreciate what we are doing, please support our mission. Join our mission. Let us all together fight for a united Africa, a united and better Africa, so that the next generation of Africans will not go through what we are going through today. Me and you today, we are not happy about the Africa that we inherited from our ancestors. That is the fact. We are not happy with it. We are not happy with an Africa where the children of Africa cannot explore the continent of Africa. The continent of Africa is being explored by outsiders. We are not happy with the Africa where the children of Africa are being harassed all over the world, dying in the Mediterranean Sea, on their way to America, on their way to Europe, the brain drain. But we cannot blame our ancestors for the Africa that we inherited from them, because they didn't know better. Today, me and you, we know better. That is the reason why we should not handle the same Africa to the next generation of Africans. How do we overcome this and bring change so that the next generation of Africans can live in Africa with dignity? It's by uniting the continent of Africa. That is why we are here, One Africa Mission. So please, if you appreciate what we are doing, join our mission, support our mission. Let us take our YouTube channel to 10K subscribers, and also follow us on Facebook, One Africa Mission, on TikTok, One Africa Mission. Support us. Pass your comments. Your comments are really important to us, so that together we can handle a better, secure, dignified Africa to the next generation of Africans. I thank you very much for coming around. Please, let us go and watch, listen to the rubbish that is coming out from the United Nations as they are talking about Mali returning back to civilian rule, because they know what civilian governance are giving to them, these Western colonial criminals. Let us watch the full video, come back and analyze it.
Nations has recently issued a stern warning to Mali's military leader, expressing their deep concern over the recent decree that suspends the activities of political parties and civic associations. The UN has emphasized that an open and pluralistic civic space is crucial for the promotion of human rights, peace and security, and sustainable development. The organization has called for the immediate repeal of this decree, as it poses a significant threat to the democratic principles and fundamental freedoms that are essential for the progress and well-being of any society. Well, in order to provide comprehensive insight into the situation in Mali, it is essential to begin at the outset. As previously mentioned, the military junta in Mali, led by Colonel Assimi Goïta, has implemented a prohibition on all political activities within the country until further notice. This action has been taken under the pretext of concerns regarding public order. Nevertheless, despite this ban, over 80 political parties and civil groups have come together to demand that presidential elections be resumed without delay, and that military rule be brought to an end. This joint statement, signed by more than 20 organizations, includes a prominent opposition coalition and the party of the former president, who was ousted in the coup. The statement declares that all legal and legitimate means will be employed to restore normal constitutional order in Mali. Mali's spokesperson, Colonel Abdoulaye Maiga, recently addressed the nation concerning the government's decision to impose a ban on all political parties. According to Colonel Maiga, the decree that has been issued is a police measure aimed at preserving the general interest of Mali. He emphasized that the ban is not targeted at any specific political party or association, but is an impersonal measure motivated by several reasons. Colonel Maiga identified political and security reasons as the main drivers behind the government's decision to impose the ban. He reminded the public that on December 31, 2023, the president of the chief transition of the state, Colonel Assimi Goïta, had called for direct inter-Malian dialogue to involve the entire Malian people. Unfortunately, the consequences of this initiative led to events that necessitated the government's decision to put an end to the Algerian agreement on January 25, 2024. The primary objective of the inter-Malian dialogue was to draw lessons from the challenges Mali faced in implementing the agreement. This agreement contradicted the three principles guiding public action in Mali: sovereignty, taking into account strategic interests and choice of partners, and considering the interests of the Malian people. It is a total break with these three principles dictated by the head of state. The dialogue was critical for the country, given the evolving forms of terrorism in Mali that have amalgamated with community conflict. The community conflict has significantly affected the unity of the country and national cohesion. The government's objective was to solve the problem of community conflictuality and subsequently terrorism. The more terrorists are isolated, the easier it becomes for the forces of defense and security to neutralize them. However, in many regions, there is still an amalgam between community conflictuality and terrorism, as evidenced by the internal displaced and refugee camps in some areas and neighboring countries. Unfortunately, the inter-Malian dialogue was derailed by sterile discussions that were not worth it. These discussions were paradoxical, like a hen and an egg, and lacked substance. On September 25, 2023, the government informed the national and international opinion that it would be impossible to hold elections on time, given several reasons cited in a statement. The government had anticipated this and had taken measures to address some of the technical issues, such as the problem of the database, the adoption of derived texts, and the treatment of the results of the annual review of electoral lists by the Independent Authority for Election Management. Colonel
Yes, so as me and you already know, recently the government of Mali suspended all political activities in Mali because political activities elections are not their priority for now. For now, the military junta led by Assimi Goïta said their priority is to secure Mali, the borders of Mali, the sovereignty of Mali. Security is the most important thing to them, because with security, the people of Mali can have the freedom to decide the future of Mali. But without security, what can you do? Without security, what can you do? Congo has a democratic election. They have a democracy. The president of Congo, as we speak today, was elected democratically. But there is no peace in Congo, so nothing is going on there. Is that what you wish for the entire continent of Africa? Let me tell you something. If democracy, this democracy, that is nothing but hypocrisy. If democracy was something that can transform the fortune of Africa, I am telling you, the Western criminals would have made it illegal for Africans to adapt to democracy. If democracy was something that can bring food to the table of the African, the Western world, led by America, would have made democracy illegal for our people, for our continent. But because they know democracy is the system that is impeding the progress of Africa, that is why they are forcing democracy into our neck. Libya didn't have democracy, but Libya was the standard of living in Libya was far better than that of Europe. It was far better than that of America. You went there and bombed democracy into them. Today, Libya doesn't even have leader. Libya doesn't have a leader. If you ask who is the leader of Libya, you don't even know. The president of Libya, they don't have. And I ask myself, just come to think of it, as an African. Just imagine today the kind of awakening that is going on in Africa if Gaddafi was still alive. Ask yourself as an African, imagine if Gaddafi was still alive today, what will Africa be? With the kind of programs that Gaddafi has and the money to support it. Imagine if Gaddafi was still alive today. But these Western criminals, led by the UN, who are pushing Mali and the Sahel region alliance to adopt democracy, they went in and destabilized Libya. Today, Libya doesn't even have a leader. You cannot point me and tell me that this is the president of Libya. And yet they are forcing democracy onto the neck of our people in Mali and the Niger and then Burkina Faso. But democracy is not our elections are not our priority as we speak today. Let's listen to this Ghanaian professor who recently been into a country where there's no democracy. What he's taught about that. This is a university professor, and this is what he said about democracy.
Somewhere in the conversation, I will find a way of slaughtering some of the things I went to see there in our discussions. It appears that the argument about the relationship between democracy and development is nonsense. It is not about democracy and development. It's not about whether it's undemocratic and there will be development. It's about doing things to improve the physical quality of human life. That's what matters.
True.
Whether it's democracy or it is not democracy.
So yes, you listen to him. You heard what he said. Democracy doesn't provide anything. If democracy can give you, well, it shouldn't be all about democracy. If democracy can give you the basic needs of your people, then fair enough. But democracy has not given us that. What democracy do we have in Rwanda? But Rwanda is progressing. What democracy do we have there? So this should tell us that it is not all about democracy. In Ghana, they have democracy. They don't even have electricity. In Nigeria, they have democracy. They don't have electricity. In many parts of Africa, they have democracy, but nothing is happening. So why are you forcing democracy on us? Because they know with democratic leaders, they can continue to loot your continent, your countries for free. They know that. That is the reason why the UN today is forcing democracy on Mali. Why? They don't care about your security. They don't care about children not going to school because of terrorists. They don't care about that. All that they want is elections. Go and hand over back the country to civilians, whom they know they can control. Because with the current military junta in Mali, led by the smart brother Assimi Goïta, they know they cannot control him. So they don't want that. They know they cannot control Ibrahim Traoré. So they don't want that. They know they cannot control our brother Chiani in Niger. So because of that, they are forcing them to hand over back to civilian government so that they can continue to control them. So that they can continue to beg them, come and beg them, as Ghana is doing, as Ivory Coast is doing, as Nigeria, the leadership in Nigeria is doing. That is what they want. They want leadership that will be dependent on them in the name of democracy, which Malcolm X said is nothing but hypocrisy. Democracy has nothing good to offer us as children of Africa. We have practiced democracy for the past 40 years in Africa, and it hasn't given us anything. It has not been able to provide us the our basic needs. But those in Saudi Arabia, those in Qatar, those in United Arab Emirates, they don't practice democracy, and they have everything for their citizens. So what is democracy for us if it cannot give us what we want? Why is the UN forcing democracy on our people in Mali? We shouldn't bow down to this. And they are talking about human rights. When did the UN know anything about human rights? If the UN know anything about human rights, there will not be conflict going on in Congo. Our people in Congo, men and women, children, are all over. suffering. Where is their right? How come the UN doesn't? The UN has not been able to provide security for our people in Congo, and yet they are talking about human rights. If the UN want to lecture us about